Hello guys, so in this video we are going now to do the last part of the polynomial function in Python. So basically we're doing the set the domain to evaluate the polynomial and plot the polynomial. Of course we had already done on quit. So this is the last part of this series. So we are going to talk about the domain and plot the polynomial. So basically we are going to set the domain. We have done the other part on setting the degree and the coefficient. Now this one will set the domain. Here we are going to set the domain start, stop and step. So domain start is from where it will start until to the end where it will stop. Step is the skipping value. For example, when the domain start is -5 and stop is 5. So from -5 to 5, each value between, we are going to consider the value between using the step. For example, if the step is 1, we will move from -5 to -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and up to 5. The other thing is, if step is 2, we are going to move from -5, -3, -1, like that. So that's how we are going to do it. Then we're going to plot the polynomial graph. So let's do that for our text editor. So in this, we're going to import numpy because we are going to use it somewhere, but let's just leave that for now. When we reach at that point we are going to import it. So let's start with setting the domain, and again I need some corrections on this option 1. Don't want this here. Let's remove this here and copy it in set degree. I just want the function itself to be called on the menu, so the function will do the rest of the work. So like that, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, the function just let the function do its work. Yeah, like that. So let's do now the set the domain. So we are going to set the domain, this one here. So we are going here, we are calling the function set domain if the option is set domain. So let's do that, set domain. So we are going to ask the user to enter the start of the domain, the stop and the step. Then we are going to append those values to the domain list. Okay, so let's do that. So we are going to define a variable start, which will be an input to request the user to enter the value of start, enter the domain start value, like that. Then of course we need it as an integer, so we have to convert the, no matter if you enter 5 or I or Z, any input from the user will be treated as a string. So input function just have string. So if you enter as 5, you need to convert that 5 into an integer. So we are going to append that. Let's append the start. So self dot domain list dot append start, like that. Then you can go ahead to stop and just copy this to simplify the work. So on that, just going to change here stop value, then here stop, here stop, like that. And then you are going to do is to the last one, the step step step. Yeah, and you're done with that. So maybe we can print the domain, the values you entered. So let's print domain values. So we are going to start with start, stop, stop, and step. Like that. And we can print, of course, the next. So that's all for setting the domain. So let's go now to let's first test that. Let's set. So set domain 3. Enter the domain start value 5, domain stop the value 3, domain step 1. Yeah, like that. Domain values start, stop, and step. Yeah, like that. So let's do the last part, which is basically the important part again for this. So we are going to plot a graph using the values that we have. So we are going this the domain that we set now, the range of the values that we set here, the domain also entered the, so we are going to use those values to plot the graph. So basically what we are going to do, we are going to create a range of values, the values itself. For example, if you use the values as the domain range values, for example, you use start as -5, stop as 5, and step as 1. So we need a list of these values: -5, -4, yeah, -3, up to 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. We need these values here. So what we are going to do, the poly function that is defined using the values we entered here, the degree and the coefficient, because the degree and the coefficients are the ones that are forming the poly function. So we are going to use now the domain values on the function itself. For example, let's say the function itself is the 5x to power 3 plus 4x to power 2 plus x to power 1, like that, plus 9. So we are going to this the domain values are the one that are going to be the x value. So if it's -5, we are going to do 5 times -5 to power 3 4 times. So we are going to place this 5 here on x. So we are going to calculate the fx value. Basically, this is the fx, or the polynomial function. So what we are going to do is we are going to replace 5 here. So we are going to get the value for this value when x is negative. We are going to get the fx value when x is -5. Again, we go to -4. We calculate the fx value for that. Then the fx values we are going to generate using the domain values will be the values that are going to be used to plot the graph. So basically, let's generate this. So we are going to use the numpy np.arrange. Basically, the arrange function serves us to generate the values according to the range given. So the np.arrange, what it basically does is it accepts the start, stop, and the step values. So let's import numpy as np that. So let's go back there. So we are going to generate the domain values. It's going to be, we are going to use mp.arrange, as I was saying. So then we are going to pass the start from the domain values, the domain values. For example, if we set the domain values as this, this is the start, this is the stop, this is the step. So and these values are stored in our domain list. This one here, the domain list. So we are going to access them. So the first element in the domain list is the start, the second is the stop, and the third is the step. So we are basically accessing that self.domain. So the first value is the start, self.domain. The second value is the stop, and lastly self.domain. And the third value is the step, like that. So basically that's how you do it. So the first value is accessed with the index 0, the second is accessed with index 1, and the third is accessed with index 2. So then when you access that, then let's define a list of poly values, the values or the fx values. These ones I was saying here, can call them the fx values. So it's defined as an empty list. So we are going to calculate those values according to the coefficients and the degree we provided. So because the degree and the coefficients are the ones that are forming the polynomial function, so we are going to calculate that, the fx values. So for I in domain values, like that. So we are accessing these values. Now we are accessing this. So we pick 5 be used in this polynomial function. Get it? So we are going to do that. So for j in age, so here we are defining a age using the degree values. So what we are going to do now, we are going to get the, again we are calculating. So when you get this, now we are replacing this is -5x here, -5 here x -5, so we are calculating this value, then we add this value to this, then we add this value that. So here inside we can, so lastly the total of these ones are the one to be included in the fx values list. So we need the fx sum to calculate the sum of this, then that value at the end of the loop will be padded into the fx values list. So basically that's what we're going to do fx sum. Let's give it 0. So what we are going to do for fx sum, we are going to add fx sum. Basically, you know this arithmetic. So you are taking this value here, you add now with the latest value. So we are going to add that with the self dot coefficient. So you are taking the coefficients. I explained how the coefficients are stored. So the coefficients, these are the coefficients here. 5, 4, this one means as a coefficient of 1 and 9. So those are the coefficients, and those coefficients are stored in the coefficients list. So basically those values are stored there. So what we are basically doing is we are taking the coefficient from the list. Okay, then of course we know the after coefficient the next value is x. So we are taking now that coefficient, calculating this value. Let's do that coefficient. So now we have now the, let's take this first coefficient because we are opening it from the list. So we go ahead, so we are taking the coefficient. So and we are accessing this coefficient using this rule because I said with the degree that we pass, this represent the, so when we are accessing the coefficients, the first, so degree here, for example, if we pass the degree as 3, because this one represent a degree of 3, the coefficients will be 4. But what we are to multiply here, the ones that we are multiplying now, the 5 with the x value to power, it's from this 0, 1 and 2, or from 1 to 3. Now equal number with the degree, you get? So what we are going to do here, we will use the degree so that we can be able to access the coefficients from the first term to third term, and then we are going to access the degree value of that, because the degree value of the first term is always 3 and it decreases as we go ahead with the polynomial function. I guess you are getting how we are doing this. So we are going to get the coefficient I, that means the first coefficient from the list. So it's going to do like that, the first, because it's not I but j, sorry, j. So it's going to get the first coefficient, then it will multiply that, it's going to multiply that with x, this x. But now x, the x value here is supposed to be I, the d value here. These are the x values. So we are going to pass I, then this I, which is x, it's going to power the degree value. So we are going to I, let's bracket that, get the to power the degree, self dot degree, like that, minus I or j, now the j, not I, this one here, minus j. So if the first one has it's a self dot degree, it's going to minus j. The first one is 3, the first one is 0, so we are starting with 0 here. This one will read 0, the first one 0. So here basically the degree will be 3. So we are calculating the first one. So when we go to the second one, it's going to, now j will read 1. So the degree will be 2 as it is here. When you go to the next one, which is here is 2, the degree here will read 1, which is this and that. So after it's done with this, now with the -5, it's going to start now -4. You don't need to do the same.